Hello, everybody. So today we will see how to set up the Truffle in our local machine, right? So yeah, let me open one, notepad. So what are we going to do today? So we are going to see. I'll show you how to set up Truffle in local machine, and that local machine has Windows, right? The local machine has Windows. So basically, even before this, so if you ask me what is this truffle at all, like, it is just a tool, guys. It's just a tool which where you can create smart contracts, compile them, and also deploy them. So in any local machine, and also you can also deploy them in the actual Ethereum or actual blockchain, right? So finally, what is Truffle? It's just a tool. So there is nothing, you cannot say that Truffle is a blockchain, right? Truffle is just a, you call it as a tool, or you just call it as just like an IDE where you write the smart contracts. So those smart contracts will be, again, still you will have to compile them, and you can deploy them in a local blockchain, or you can also push it on the actual blockchain. It can be Ethereum, right? So that's what a basic thing, which is a truffle. You can also find the stuff on the internet as well, right? So now I'll show you so how to set up the truffle in your local machine. So once after you know this, right? So basically the truffle, you can, as we say, that we have other IDE also, which is a remix IDE also, to run such kind of smart contracts. But we say it as truffle is so beautifully designed, which it is user friendly. Work with the smart contracts. This remix. So so compared to the remix, yeah, compared to remix, I feel that this truffle is quite good enough, right? So now, for if you ask me, what are the things are required to set up the truffle in our local mission, in the sense. So I say that the first and foremost thing, basically, a system should have the Node.js and Git. So from where you'll be extracting, then Visual Code. See, basically, to you can also run this truffle directly on the a command prompt in the CLI, which is command line interface. So you can also run directly on the CLI itself, command line interface. But for the user friendly nature, we do make use of Visual Studio. So for so for running our execution, for fetching the results as well, we feel that it is quite easy for the user, and also user will get a easy, feel easy, right? So in that regard, I'll not be much showing you about the CLI. So I'll be talking about this. I'll be using this VS Code, right? So now first let us install Node.js, Git, and VS Code in your system. So you just go to the Google and type what. So I install Node.js. That's it, right? As simple as install Node.js. So if you just click here where it will ask you whether it is for Windows, definitely it is for Windows. I'm just downloading. So as soon as that, then it is install Git. So it is a very, very simple process of set. So you can set up this truffle in your Windows environment. It is not that quite difficult, right? I'll just make use for 64-bit. You can also make use of 32-bit. It is based on your system compatibility, right? So the next is VS Code. I'll install VS Code. Yeah. So I'll just say install VS Code, where I need to, yeah, I need it for the Windows. So I have 10. So I'm just downloading. So likewise, I just downloaded the three different required softwares. So those are, you can observe VS Code. Let me delete other stuff, whatever it is there, so that it will be easy for you to make out, right? I'll just delete. Anyhow, I have put the album in the different folders, right? So as of now, I'll just delete them. Yeah. So these are the three folders, sorry, three softwares which I have just downloaded. So let me install one by one. Let me start the Node.js. So it's quite simple process. You'll just double click and just go ahead, finish. So where at the time of you installing this Node.js, it will be installed through the administrator mode. That's it, right? Say yes. So yeah, done with the installation of Node.js. So now let me take you to the installation of Git. So installation of Git is also quite simple. So accept that, next, finish. So because I'm not showing you any specific setup right here because I don't have to be customize all the settings for Truffle. So I'm not customizing anything. I just kept everything as a default setting itself for installation of Git. So I just so they just click next, right? Because I don't need to customize my Git for Truffle, right? I just need the Git only where I need to. I'll be extracting the, I'll be fetching the packages. So I'm done with Git as well. So now VS Code. So where we will be installing the VS Code, Visual Studio. So yeah, click next. So here also there are a lot of customization options. So I don't need to do all that for the sake of Truffle. So I'm just clicking next and finishing that, right? Yeah, so yeah, we are done with installation of all the three, which is Node.js, Git, and the VS Code. As I mentioned already, I'm not directly showing you through the command line interface, so I'm just so only I have downloaded these three and installed all those three as well. Right now, let us launch VS Code. So I'll just search for VS Code, VS Code. So we have done installed, right? Yeah, VS Code. Very good. Yeah, yes, here it is, VS Code, Visual Studio Code. So I'll just launch it. So yeah, you can all observe this. So this is a welcome page where as soon as you install the, Visual Studio Code. So this is the home page. I don't need to again. So you can also set up based on your requirement. You set up everything. So I don't need to waste your time and set up all that. It's left to the individual, right? So whether what kind of light mode, what kind of context you need, what kind of editor options you need, all that. So I'll just close this. Right. So now, so before I actually start set up the truffle. So my dear, so what I did, I just launched the VS Code, which is Visual Studio. That's it, right? So now I need to set up. I'll say that set up truffle in VS Code. Is it not? So I'll be using VS Code where you'll be setting this. You'll set up this truffle, right? So for that, so what I have to do in the sense, so as I'll be using a separate folder. So even for your information, where exactly this is created. So this is there are two ways. One way you can create a folders from this itself by using this add folder workspace, right? Where exactly you want to from now onwards, what and all the activities you do, it has to be loaded and kept in that particular folder. So you can also do this add folder to workspace. Otherwise, you can also go to the place where this VS Code is installed, where it will be installed in the C drive, users, admin. So this is where the VS Code is installed. I hope you can observe right here. So this is where you can also create one folder, right? So you can create one folder. I'll just say that NCG, truffle. You can say it as anything, right? So as I said as NCG truffle. So right now I'll open that particular folder, which is NCG Truffle. So from now onwards, I'll be using this particular folder. Yes, I trust the authors, right? So you can observe, in this folder, what does this folder contains? This particular folder contains nothing. It is just an empty folder, right? So this folder is an empty folder. It doesn't contain anything, right? Now, so let us start setting the setup of the Truffle in this particular folder, but which ID we are using? We are using a VS Code, as simple as, right? So I'll just close this. So I'll open the terminal. How to open the terminal? Control and hyphen. So otherwise, if at all if you don't want to use the shortcuts, so there is an option. You go to view, and here you can observe the terminal, right? So when you go to view and there's a terminal, so you'll get into the terminal, right? Now let us set up the Truffle. So we are what we did, we launched the VS Code. So we have created the folder, and in that particular folder we need to install the for that particular folder we need to install the Truffle. So how do I do that? Npm install Truffle, right? As simple as, so I'll just say that npm install Truffle. But here one thing you'll have to know that if at all if you do this npm install Truffle, so it will be a local to your machine, local to your particular workspace. So if I want to make it as a global, so I have to use -g. So what I'm doing, npm install -g Truffle. So what is going to happen in the sense, so your Truffle, whatever you are installing, it will be made to the public, right? So that's what a global. So public means it is not for anybody else other than your system. Obviously, I hope you are clear that we are installing this, or we are setting the Truffle in your system. So G is, it is for global to all the environment in your system. It is not specific to this particular environment, right? So I just entered. So now the installation process of Truffle is started, right? So it will take quite minutes, either 2 to 3 minutes it will take. So not more than that. You don't have to worry on that. So just and also in between also it will not ask you anything to set up in between. There is nothing like specific configuration is not required for that, right? So you just need to wait for it. So just 2 to 3 minutes it will take. Remember, so this Truffle. So as far as multiple people who have already started using this Truffle, so feel that it is quite good compared to the remix. Even though we have remix in the online version as well, you can directly use them in the online editor as well. So, but people feel that this Truffle is quite easy, and also that it is user friendly when you will be using this Truffle. So the yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, so it will take 2 to 3 minutes. So because it has to extract all the packages which are required to set up this Truffle, right? So it's as simple as very simple command, which is npm install -g Truffle. That's it, right? So as I mentioned already, G is for making your Truffle to be a global. It is not specific to any one single folder, right? That's only the thing. There's nothing else than that. So what happens in some cases, meantime before it can happen. So what happens in the sense, in some cases, in some systems, it will not allow you to install this Truffle from this terminal of your VS Code. What you have to do in the sense, the same command, which is npm install -g. The same command you'll have to use in the command prompt, as I already mentioned. See, now I'm done with the installation of that. So what I'm trying to convey in the sense, as this Truffle is also which can also be work in the command line. So in some cases, okay, in some cases, if the installation is not complete right here, what you have to do in the sense, go to the command prompt. Okay, go to the command prompt and open that command prompt in the administrator mode. I say it as run as administrator, right? In the right here, you try to provide that command, which is npm install -g truffle. So what happens in the sense, it will start installation from the command prompt, right? Hope it is getting connected. So when you can't able to install from the Visual Studio directly, so in the terminal of Visual Studio directly, so in such case, you can install from the command prompt. But when you open the command prompt, try to open in the administrator mode. So okay, so now when it is once after it is installed, so we'll say that how to make sure that whether it is installed perfectly or not, just type that Truffle -hyphen version. So where if it is clearly, if it is completely installed, it will show you the version of that particular truffle, right? If not, it will throw you an error. Fine. So yeah. So in the command prompt, it is getting installed. So right here. So yeah. Yeah, very good. So here, if you observe right here, there is the term Truffle is not recognized. So because it's not completely installed, right? So only we are see, there are a lot of warnings as well. So only I'm installing through the command prompt as well, right? So let us see. Even so if per suppose if the system throws that error, I feel very happy to show one more error which may happen when you try to install this particular truffle. So I'll show you that error as of now. So installation is going on from the command line interface, which is command prompt, right? Installation of the truffle and setup in this Visual Studio, you can also do it. See what I'm doing, it is through the completely the command oriented, the same command, whatever the command I used, which is npm install. This command, if at all if you want to use in the linux oriented, right? When you go to the terminal of ubuntu or fedora, so there instead of npm you just add a sudo, right? So other than that, what is the other way, in the sense, when you go to the google and type truffle download. Okay, so as simple as geo based also, you can also do this you from this trufflesuit.com, right? So from here also you can get to know so what are all the things are required. So right, so you can also perform the activity. So now let me check it. Yes, yeah, let us see truffle hyphen version. Yeah, so now you can observe this. So as I have when I did the same thing, npm installed -g truffle in the VS code. So where it thrown you error when I checked the truffle version. So now as soon as I did the same thing, truffle installation from the command prompt, but that command prompt I opened it through the administrator mode. So I could able to come. It is success, and when I checked the truffle version, it is showing the current version is 5.11.1, and the Ganesh version, Solidity programming version, Node.js version, and Web3 version. So, right, that is also one quite difference which you find out between the remix and this truffle, where it is not only works on HTTP, so it better works in WSS, which is the 3 versions, right? So yeah, this is where version you got this. The same thing if you want to get it. So here also you can get it now. Truffle hyphen version. Yes. So okay. See, earlier the error was different. Now the error is this quite different. It is not. It is telling you something which is related to the PS1, which is the script. We call it as script error. See, my dear. So this is nowhere related to the problem or issue with the truffle, or it is not the issue with the VS, which is Visual Studio. Even then, it is throwing you error. If you observe right here, there is, when you do the same thing truffle version in the command prompt, you are getting fine, right? Is it not? You are getting fine when you try to do the same thing from the Visual Studio, it is throwing an error. What is this error? In a sense, it is, as I mentioned, it is nowhere. It is not the problem of truffle, or it is not the problem of Visual Studio. It is the one of the setting which has to be done in your system. Basically, this happens if you are doing for the first time. If you are doing or if you are working with for the first time, so this error will happen. So how to resolve error, which is we call it as a script error. So you can observe this. It is error is also mentioned here. It is the scripting running script is disabled. So I'll say it as while setting up, right? Okay. Before that, so what is the command I made use for installation? Truffle. I install. Oh no, npm, right? npm install -g Truffle. So this is a comment, right? So the as I mentioned this, if it won't works in the Visual Studio, do go to the command prompt, open the command prompt in the administrator mode and run it. You will get it, right? Then Truffle version. But as I mentioned already, so when you do this truffle version, it may throw you an error. So what is that error? So it, as it was, showing, so there's something related to this, which is, cannot be loaded because running script is disabled. So how to, resolve this in the sense? So it is very simple way you can resolve. So go to PowerShell. Okay, go to PowerShell. So I'll say go to PowerShell. Where can I find that PowerShell? So as usual, go to the start and type PowerShell. Okay, type PowerShell. Now you can observe this, which is Windows PowerShell. Open this PowerShell in the administrator mode as usual. Run as administrator. So I just opened. Now what did I do? I opened this PowerShell in the administrator mode, right? So I opened the Windows PowerShell in the administrator mode. This is where I allow to use one command, which is we say that we have to you have to enable this. See, as the error itself is showing that is something is disabled. What is disabled in the sense execution of the scripts is been disabled. So you'll have to use this command set execution policy. So you need to execution policy remote signed. So when you do this, set execution policy remote signed. Yes, correct. No, there is some error. So set execution, yeah. So execution policy. Now it is asking you, do you really want to do it? Yes. Type Y. Type yes. So now it is done. So what is the command? As I mentioned, this is the command which is supposed to give in the what PowerShell. Then you open the PowerShell in the administrator mode and give this command: set execution policy space hyphen execution policy remote sign, where you are enabling, as it was disabled, you are enabling that option. Now let me go to the VS Code and check the version again. So now you see, so it is showing the same version as same as your command prompt, right? It is quite simple. So that's how you set up the truffle in your VS Code. Still, you can observe that your NCG truffle, this folder, whatever you have created, your truffle environment, it is still empty. There is nothing inside that. So now what you have to do, you need to initialize the truffle. So by using a truffle init, okay, you'll have to initialize the truffle by using truffle init. So truffle init. So you just say that truffle init, that's enough. So if you say that truffle init, so if the initialization is complete, right? If the initialization is success, are you getting this? You are getting a suite. So init is successful, you are getting a suite. And how do you get to know that initialization is success in the sense? Make sure there. So it's supposed to have these three folders and one JS file compulsory. That what are those three folders? One is contracts folder, where you will be writing a smart contract. Migrations folder, where you will be writing a JS, which is scripting scripts for deployment, and test folder for testing script. So and this is very important configuration file, because this is where you'll be setting the whatever the parameters required, like mnemonic, project IDs. Okay, so whenever you want to push it onto the local chains, you'll be using this development code. Whenever you'll be pushing onto the real Ethereum, so you'll be using go early. Either it may be you may be using Infor or Alchemy, so you'll be using this. So likewise, so even you'll be using this hardware wallet, HD wallet, providers for when you'll be creating a private blockchain. So likewise, so different options you can find it in this truffle config.js. So I hope you got my point. As soon as you do this truffle, where is it? Truffle init. As soon as you do the truffle init, so you inside your folder, which is NCG truffle as of now. So inside that, so you should get a suite. Okay, you should get a suite. So how do you get a suite? By where you can observe these three folders, which is contracts, migrations, and test with this page, which is with this file, which is truffle config file. So then you say that, okay, your installation of the truffle, or you can say that setup of the, as I mentioned. So as soon as you complete the truffle init, so you must have the contracts folder, migrations, and test folder, followed by truffle config dot js. These three folders and this file must be created, then only you say that yes, this is success, right? So for your information, so let me make it even clear. So this is what we did. So as I mentioned, truffle is just id. So how do we set up? For setting up that, you can also do it from the command line interface, but you can do for the user interface, better user interface, you will have to install these. Once after you're done with, you will be in the VS Code, you will have to install the truffle by using this npm install -g truffle. As I mentioned, if it won't work in the VS Code, do go to the command prompt, open the command prompt in the administrator mode, and do give the same command. Okay, if you are working in the Linux, instead of npm, you'll get sudo. That's it, right? So then truffle hyphen version. So where it will show you the version. So as I mentioned, when you'll be fetching the version from the VS Code, it may throw you this kind of error. So it is not only, it's, see, this is nowhere, as I mentioned, this kind of error, as I mentioned already. So this is the error which is nowhere related to, or it is not only particular to, sorry, it is not only particular to the truffle. So it is the normal error, which is because there is something is disabled in your system. What is that disabled? It is the execution policy of scripts. Okay, script execution policy was disabled. You'll have to enable it. Where to enable? Go to the PowerShell in the administrator mode and give this command, and say yes, you will can enable it. Then when you do this truffle init, okay, when you do the truffle init in your VS Code, when you do the truffle init, so where if it is success, it must create three folders and one file. Okay, three folders and one file. So that's what uh, the today's session, which is to the topic what we consider, which is truffle setup in a local machine. Thank you all.